Chapter 16:10. They have returned. The airship landed slowly at the foot of Tsang Mountain. Hushi's eyes widened in shock as she watched the scene below. Looking down from the airship, all she could see were crowds of people packed tightly together at the base of Tsang Mountain. They looked like swarming ants from above. Zhang Yi and the rest were shocked. They stammered, "Brother Shiyu, how come? Why are there so many people?" "I've been wondering the same thing." The corners of Shiyu's mouth twitched. Butler Nan stood nearby with an amiable smile like a Buddha. "Masters, ever since the word of your wedding spread, the people of Jinling City and martial artists from the other kingdom have visited us. They've been waiting here, hoping to catch a glimpse of you. In fact, many people from the Miluo continent attended the Nangong family banquet at Miracle Healer Academy. Ever since they saw Shiyu in women's clothing, they had become crazy fans and spread the word everywhere in Miluo continent. Many talented artists painted portraits of Shiyu. Anyone who saw those portraits was utterly amazed. Moreover, Nangongyu's striking appearance was already well known to everyone. With such a strikingly handsome man and a beautiful woman coming together, who wouldn't want to catch a glimpse? That was why there was a terrifying scene where people gathered outside the sealed dragon domain all day, just to see the true appearance of the couple. Butler Nan smiled and said, "We can't just let the crowd gather like this. Why doesn't the king lead the queen out to meet them and then persuade them to leave? This would not only clear the crowd, but also put to rest the rumors that the king of hell's wife was a man. It would be like killing two birds with one stone." Nangongyu wasn't usually inclined to deal with unrelated matters or people, but Butler Nan's warm and benevolent smile persuaded him otherwise. Hushi only wanted to disperse the crowd, so she could return to the sealed dragon domain and have a good rest. At the foot of Tsang Mountain, the bustling crowd went quiet. Everyone looked up into the sky in unison. An airship slowly descended towards them, proudly displaying the emblem of the King of Hell Mansion, Iron Kirin. "Ah, it's His Highness King of Hell and the Queen. They have returned. Is she really a woman? Is she really as beautiful as the portrait? I want to see her. Damn, stop pushing me away. I've been waiting here for many days just to take a look at Shiyu's true appearance." The Star Ocean airship slowly descended, but it hovered just above the crowd instead of landing. As the air current settled, the crowd looking up could clearly see the scene on the deck of the ship. A tall, strikingly handsome man appeared, walking slowly with a young woman by his side. The moment they saw the man, many couldn't help but gasp in awe. Several women were enchanted by the charm, almost to the point of fainting. However, when the crowd got a clear view of the young woman beside him, they all froze in place, as if turned to stone. They held their breath, not even blinking an eye. No words, idioms, or verses from the greatest poets could capture her beauty. Dressed in a simple light green outfit, her ink-black hair was elegantly secured by a single jade hairpin. Apart from that, she wore no other jewelry or adornments. However, the moment this young woman appeared, it felt as if all the elements of the universe, the sun, moon, and stars, suddenly paled in comparison, losing their shine. "Everyone, Hushi and I, Nangongyu, will be getting married in 10 days. You are all welcome to join the wedding banquet at the King of Hell Mansion. However, this area around Tsang Mountain is the private property of my fiancé, Hushi. I kindly ask everyone to leave promptly and not disturb her rest." Chapter 16:11. The aggrieved daughter-in-law. Nangongyu's deep voice resonated, snapping many back to their senses. However, some were still drooling, gazing at Shiyu in a daze. Nangongyu sneered. His voice took an icy tone. "Half an hour from now, if I catch anyone disturbing Shiyu's rest in this area, don't blame the King of Hell Mansion for what's going to happen." This statement, though seemingly calm and casual, was like a bolt of lightning, instantly jolting those who were still entranced back to reality. The crowd let out a gasp, taking one last longing glance at the couple who looked like they were straight out of a fairy tale, before scattering in all directions. They surely wanted to admire the goddess's beauty more. But who dared to defy the mighty presence of the King of Hell? It was better to gaze from a distance than risk their lives up close. In no time, the crowd that was once densely packed at the foot of the mountain had dispersed. Hushi was delighted. She jumped out of the Star Ocean airship. Miss, you are finally back." Shi Jia and others streamed out of the teleportation array. They knelt before Hushi, their eyes filled with joy and excitement of a long-awaited reunion. Mai Xiang, who was rather emotional, had secretly wiped away her tears. It had been too long since they last saw Mississippi. Mudong took a step forward and said, "Miss, your room has already been prepared. You must be tired from your journey. Allow me to escort you to your rest." Hushi smiled and nodded. As she was about to follow Shi Jia and the others into the teleportation array, she saw Nan Gongyu following them again. Butler Nan, who was not far away, looked at her with a troubled and pleading expression. Hushi couldn't resist a gentle chuckle as she playfully pushed Nan Gongyu, remarking, "Behave for now. Return when your work is finished." Nan Gongyu wore a sad expression as if he were an aggrieved daughter-in-law. Hushi ignored him, turned around, and disappeared into the teleportation array with Shi Jia and the rest. Jin Ziyu and the others naturally followed into the sealed Dragon Domain's teleportation array, but when they passed by Nan Gongyu, their expressions were intricate. Shiyu actually told His Majesty King of Hell to behave, while Nan Gongyu still looked aggrieved. Everyone felt like their worldviews had been turned upside down. On the contrary, Qing Long and the others had long been accustomed to how the king and the queen got along, and they were used to it. As soon as Hushi's figure disappeared, Nan Gongyu immediately returned to his usual cold and indifferent demeanor. He waved his hand and commanded, "Xianwu, assemble a team of Iron Kirin to guard the area. The rest of you, accompany me back to the King of Hell Mansion." "Yes, master." Lu Shuyang knelt nervously on the cold blue stone brick floor, cold sweat dripping from his forehead. Not far in front of him was an empty chair. A man wearing a white robe and a silver mask stood next to the chair with a respectful expression. Suddenly, there was a flash of silver light, and a figure was projected on the chair. It was a tall man wearing a moon-white robe, with green vines printed on it. They intertwined to form a pattern. The man's face was also concealed behind a mask, but this mask was exceedingly eerie. It featured the same vine-like patterns, yet under the crystal's light, those vines seemed to move as if they were alive. Upon seeing this person appear, the sweat on Lu Shuyang's face dripped down from his forehead. He bowed his head and respectfully said, "Greetings, your venerable." The man seated above cast a calm glance at him and inquired, "Do you have anything to say?" Lu Shuyang looked up and saw Qishan's figure. Chapter 16:12. A chance to explain myself. Standing beside the man in the green vine-patterned robe, the silver fox's expression darkened as he said, "Lu Shuyang, when I asked you if you knew about the wood source, you claimed to know nothing. Are you deliberately deceiving Venerable Qingteng? This subordinate would never dare." Lu Shuyang kowtowed on the blue stone ground with a resounding thud, his voice trembling with extreme fear. "Your Venerable, please give this subordinate a chance to explain himself." The man in the long robe chuckled softly, his laughter carrying an ambiguous tone as if toying with a little mouse. "Oh, then go ahead and tell us. I admit that I have indeed concealed some information about the wood source from Sir Silver Fox and Sir Qishan. But that's because, firstly, I haven't yet confirmed the true whereabouts of the wood source. Secondly, I want to wait for His Venerable to come out of seclusion and report to you in person. I admit I had my own motives, but I would never dare to betray or deceive you." Lu Shuyang's words made Silver Fox's face become even more ugly. The eyes looking at him seemed to be quenched with poison. This insignificant mortal from the lower realms actually dares to seek favor before His Venerable, attempting to surpass both Qishan and me. He had news, yet he chose not to inform me, but instead reported directly to His Venerable. Who does he think he is? However, the man in the long robe burst into hearty laughter. After a bout of laughter, he finally said, "I am aware of your loyalty. So, do you now have a clear idea of who possesses the wood source?" Lu Shuyang heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. He had finally passed this test. However, he was unwilling to hand over the wood source that was almost within his grasp. The man in the long robe lightly tapped on something and said, "Tell me about your discovery." Before the leader of the Green Vine clan, Lu Shuyang dared not hide anything. He quickly recounted what he had heard from the heavenly mulberry sacred tree in the magic beast forest, the battle with Shiyu, and the discovery of several types of spiritual roots in his body. He then went on to explain his discovery within the seven-star formation, that there would be residual traces once the wood source was exerted. Although these remnants were extremely faint, they had been detected by his voodoo. The light in the eyes of Venerable Qing Tung flickered, and a blazing fire slowly burned in the depths of his eyes. However, this time his intuition told him that it was right. The wood source they had been relentlessly pursuing was right there. That was the hope of their Green Vine clan, and the greatest assurance for the Green Vine clan's rise to power. Silver Fox. Venerable Qing Tung shouted. Silver Fox quickly bowed. Accompany President Liu on another trip to the magical beast forest to investigate whether any remnants of the wood source are left in it. If that person truly possesses the wood source and not an ordinary wood spiritual root, then the essence of life should undoubtedly still linger within them. Tishan. Bring your men to Miluo Continent's Jinling Kingdom, and keep a close watch on Shiyu's movements, ensuring she doesn't escape our control. You have to stop anyone from seizing the opportunity before us. But remember, you must be discreet and cautious. Until confirmation, let no one detect your presence. Chapter 16:13. Losing his composure. Yes, you're venerable. Qishan, standing behind Venerable Qing Tung, acknowledged the command. President Liu, I will attribute all the merit of this matter to you. Venerable Qing Tung looked at Lu Shuyang gently. If I really get the wood source, I promise you will have a firm footing within the Green Vine clan. Lu Shuyang's face lit up with immense joy. He quickly bowed deeply in gratitude. He made his exit upon Venerable Qing Tung's gesture. You're venerable. Do you really trust that sneaky Lu Shuyang? Silver Fox exclaimed indignantly. Venerable Qing Tung chuckled, his eyes filled with disdain. This little rat who came crawling to us has greed and desires so obvious that they can't even be hidden. How could I truly trust him? However, his abilities are useful. Until we get what we want, keep a close watch on him. But be careful when searching for the wood source. Don't let him get the upper hand. A glint flashed in Silver Fox's eyes, but a pleased expression appeared on his face. Your wisdom shines, you're venerable. I know what to do now. At that moment Qishan, who stood behind the Venerable Qing Tung, hesitated and said, You're venerable, there is one more thing. Although Shiyu is a lower realm martial artist, she was accepted as the immortal Xianqing's disciple. Immortal Xianqing is also very fond of this disciple. Furthermore, even Venerable Huiyu treats Shiyu in high regard. Immortal Xianqing? Venerable Qing Tung's eyes showed a trace of surprise. He actually accepted a disciple in the Miluo continent? Even in the Siam continent, I have never seen this old guy take on a disciple. No way. Venerable Qing Tung immediately dismissed this thought. Immortal Xianqing is renowned in the Siam continent for always regarding fame, wealth, power, magic weapons, and scriptures as worthless. If he covets them, he would have risen to a status even higher than mine by now. In the Siam continent, everyone knows that immortal Xianqing only has food and wine in his eyes. So he must have really liked that martial artist named Shiyu. You're venerable. Qishan hesitated for a moment before whispering. Shiyu has also put on the phoenix feather heavenly dress. Not only did she put it on, but the phoenix feather heavenly dress has recognized her as its master. What? This time Venerable Qing Tung finally lost his composure and jumped up from his seat, his face full of horror. Chosen by the phoenix feather heavenly dress? Could she be the one destined by that person? No. Impossible. That's just a baseless rumor. Yes, just a rumor. Besides, how long has it been since that person disappeared? Venerable Qing Tung took a deep breath, suppressing the instinctual fear in his heart. He frowned and said, Qishan Silver Fox, treat this matter with utmost care and ensure no one learns of it. I'll dispatch Black Snake and the Green Vine Clan's Wind Division to aid you. Do you understand? Yes, you're venerable. Silver Fox said again. What about immortal Xianqing and venerable Huiyu? Huiyu is currently swamped with matters in the Divine Moon Palace, and certainly won't have the time to concern himself with a girl from the lower realm. As for Xianqing, don't worry about him. I'll find a way to get him to leave Miluo Continent. The Green Vine clan was determined to get the wood source. After returning to the sealed dragon domain, Hushi took a good rest. When she woke up again, she felt incredibly rejuvenated, both physically and mentally. Sealed Dragon Domain, previously ideal for the Greenwood Domain and Water Moon Domain, had undergone significant changes. Pavilions and towers were erected. Alongside the green mountains and clear waters, the scenery was indescribably beautiful. Chapter 1614. Amusing Sister Shiyu, it's been so long. I've missed you so much. A crisp female voice echoed from a distance, followed by a petite figure rushing into her arms. It was Shen Qingchua, along with Shen Sun, who followed behind her with a smile. Shen Sun chuckled. We're here for your wedding with His Highness King of Hell. You're not going to turn us away, are you? Hushi smiled slightly. Why would I? It's my pleasure. Shen Sun looked at the beautiful girl in front of him. He couldn't find any words that could describe his current emotion. When they first met, the girl in front of him was just a low-rank martial artist at the Foundation establishment stage, struggling to survive under the pursuit of the Feng family. But in just less than a year, she had achieved such an incredible height, and was about to marry into the King of Hell mansion. Shiyu, why can't I discern your current cultivation level? Shen Sun exclaimed. You seem to be at the gold core stage, but I feel that your strength far surpasses mine. Seeing Hushi just smile without uttering a word, Shen Sun became discouraged. With the pace of your advancement, how are ordinary people like us supposed to keep up? Shen Qingchua giggled. That's because Sister Shiyu is a genius. She's the best, unmatched in the world. Even if you're envious, uncle, it won't help. Right, Sister Xiaoyu? Hushi tapped her forehead and whispered. Did you approach Gu Lufeng? Shen Qingchua blushed and changed the subject. By the way, Sister Shiyu, Emo Xiaota left a few months ago. She said that she received a letter from home asking her to go back immediately, and I asked her where her home was. But she refused to reveal anything, and only said that her home was far away. Hushi had a rough idea. Emo Xiaota must be from the Siam continent. After coming into contact with the martial artists from the Siam continent, Hushi could distinctly sense the unique aura radiating from these upper realm individuals. After catching up with Shen Sun, they left. Shi Jia and the others immediately entered and reported to Hushi about what had happened in the past 6 months. To Hushi's relief, the strength of Shi Jia's group had improved rapidly, having already reached the realm of the bone-tempering state. While such rapid progress in cultivation was partly due to the benefits of the Sealed Dragon Domain's bonus, to reach such a level in such a short time, Xiejia and the others must have put in efforts far beyond that of ordinary people. Hushi nodded delightfully. You all have done well. It was just a simple sentence, but it immediately brought tears to Xiejia and the others' eyes as they knelt down, bowing their heads deeply. They felt that all their efforts and struggles over the past half-year were worth it. Mai Xiang and Mudong also walked up to Hushi. Mai Xiang said playfully, Miss, we've done well too. We've been working day and night these past few days to make your wedding dress. Give us some praise too. Hushi chuckled. Can this group be any more amusing? The Sealed Dragon Domain, which was originally quiet and methodically operating, suddenly sprang to life with the return of its master. The lively, bustling, and cheerful sounds filled the place, as if even the air itself was imbued with the warmth of happiness. Chapter 1615. Breaking into the boudoir at night. Conversely, Nan Gongyu was in a bad mood. The King of Hell mansion was bustling, but it was too hectic. Butler Nan in particular, who had always treated Nan Gongyu as his nephew, would never allow any flaws in his master's wedding. This is Nan Gongyu's wedding we're talking about. Is the King of Hell mansion lavish? No. It's too old. The pavilions must be renovated. The room's decor is luxurious and elegant? You must be joking. Without displaying a couple of priceless treasures, how can we showcase the style and grandeur of the King of Hell mansion? Bed canopies, curtains, bedding, and red lanterns? All must be arranged properly. The King of Hell mansion should not only have everything that mortals use for their weddings, but also even things they don't. The days of wedding preparations wore Qing Long, Bai Hu, and Wu Xian out to the point of near collapse. Bai Hu retorted, Butler Nan, When will you ever be satisfied? By your logic, we might as well just rebuild the entire King of Hell mansion from scratch. What a great idea. Butler Nan thought for a while, then suddenly clapped his hands and said, the King of Hell mansion in Jinling City is no longer big enough. I think we should build another one at the foot of Tsang Mountain, which can be used as a courtyard for the prince and the queen to relax. Bai Hu, you shall be in charge of this matter. Bai Hu sighed. Butler Nan, you might as well kill me. If Butler Nan was someone everyone tried to avoid, then Nan Gongyu was someone who rendered them all silent in awe. Nan Gongyu hadn't seen Hushi for 6 days. Every time he entered the sealed dragon domain, the barrier would send him out. The straightforward Shi Gui, who was the only woman in the group, said earnestly, Mammy once told us that it's bad luck for the bride and groom to see each other before the wedding. Your Highness, King of Hell, please leave. Oh, the so-called Mammy was Deputy General Chen's mortal mother, who was already in her 70s. She was now responsible for teaching Hushi the wedding ceremony. Nan Gongyu's face was gloomy. This was the 3rd time he had been kicked out. Staring at the activated barrier, he scoffed. You think this measly mountain protection barrier can stop me? I must see Sheer today no matter what. In the dead of night, the sealed dragon domain fell into silence. Shi Yu's house was situated in the area of the Greenwood domain where the spiritual power was abundant. While cultivating the circle of life, she suddenly heard a noise. As she opened her eyes, she saw Nan Gongyu jumping in from the window. She couldn't help but giggle. The mighty King of Hell sneaking into a lady's boudoir at night? Aren't you afraid of being taken for a rogue? You're a bad girl. In a flash, Nan Gongyu appeared before her, playfully tapping her nose with a finger. He whispered, Do you have any idea how much I've missed you? Every time I come over, I'm sent away by your stern-faced maid. I'm willing to be seen as a rogue for you, and yet you mock me. Hushi leaned into his arms and smiled brightly. Fine, I admit I was wrong. Are you happy now? Just admitting your mistake isn't enough. Nan Gongyu's eyes burned with passion, his voice becoming deeper. Naughty girl, I need to give you a proper punishment. Upon finishing his sentence, he leaned down to capture Hushi's tender lips in a deep kiss. Hushi felt like her whole body was on fire, as if she would melt into Nan Gongyu's arms at any moment. Chapter 16:16. Likewise Nan Gongyu took a deep breath to calm his heart's rapid pace. Pulling Hushi back into his embrace, he murmured hoarsely, Why is it still 5 days until the 9th of September, Sheer? I can hardly wait any longer. Hushi wrapped her arms around Nan Gongyu's waist and rested her head against his steadily beating heart, whispering, Nan Gongyu, have I ever told you that meeting you is the greatest fortune I've had in this world? With his eyes shining brilliantly and warmly, Nan Gongyu leaned down to kiss her forehead, murmuring, The feeling is mutual. Hushi suddenly recalled their first encounter, when Nan Gongyu had also snuck into her room at night. Back then, they were both wary of each other, strangers and distant. But now they were about to become the closest people in the world to each other, inseparable for life. Life truly worked in mysterious ways. Suddenly, Nan Gongyu opened his left palm, revealing a unique, round object that slowly materialized in his hand. To Hushi's surprise, the object seemed to emerge directly from the flesh and blood of Nan Gongyu's palm. From its appearance, it looks like a seed with a green outer layer. What is this? Hushi asked in surprise. Unexpectedly, Nan Gongyu shook his head. I don't know either. When my mother was still alive, she told me that 2 strange things happened when I was born. One was that the bright day suddenly turned into night, with the sun, moon, and stars vanishing without a trace. It wasn't an eclipse, and this phenomenon lasted for just an hour. The other was this seed, which floated out from the center of my forehead. Upon hearing this, Hushi couldn't help but reach out and touch Nan Gongyu's forehead, thinking to herself, if a seed floated out when he was born, would a sprout grow from it in the future? Noticing the amusement in Hushi's eyes, Nan Gongyu grasped her hand with a hint of exasperation. This was the reason that Nan Gongyu never wanted to say anything about it. A seed growing from his forehead was just too bizarre. I once tried planting this seed, but it never showed any signs of growth. Sometimes I even wonder if it's not really a seed, but some kind of gemstone or something. Hushi smiled at him and asked, "Did you bring out this seed to give it to me?" Nan Gongyu leaned down to give her a gentle kiss and said matter-of-factly, "This seed grew from within me, so it's naturally a part of my body. Hushi, all of me belongs to you. How could I not give you a part of myself?" Hushi blushed. She playfully pushed him away. This guy is becoming so bold with his words. She carefully put the seed into the void, then stood up and took Nan Gongyu's hand, saying, "Come with me." He queried, Hushi turned back with a mysterious smile on her face. "I also have something for you." He leaned in, sniffing the seed once and then again. Suddenly he sneezed. The creature, previously in its pink piggy form, instantly reverted to its original round shape. Little Egg was stunned for a long time before he swung the antennae on his head and transformed himself back into a piglet. He picked up the seed, examining it over and over. But this time, he couldn't find any clues. Bored, he pouted and put the seed back. Inside the treasure box, a faint purplish pattern momentarily flashed on the greenish seed's surface, then vanished without a trace. Chapter 16-17. Dowry. Hushi took Nan Gongyu to the control room of Sealed Dragon Domain. Looking up, the huge sealed dragon sword hanging high above came into view. Hushi waved her hand. Golden patterns slowly emerged on the crystal ceiling above the control room, and then slowly moved in two directions. As the crystal ceiling disappeared, the majestic dragon aura from the sealed dragon sword rushed toward their faces, causing the entire sealed dragon realm to gently tremble due to the unsealing. The spiritual energy in the Greedwood domain and Waterwood domain became even richer. The vegetation thrived more, and the magical beast of the desert domain and ice snow domain also became more active and excited. As the seal of the sealed dragon sword was dispelled, the sealed dragon domain had awoken and revived for the second time. "Master, you are finally going to take away the sealed dragon sword." Little Golden Dragon jumped out of the void and looked at Hushi excitedly. Hushi waved her hand gently. The huge sealed dragon sword hanging above let out a dragon roar, shrank suddenly, drew an arc in the air, and flew into Hushi's hand. Sealed dragon sword had seemingly sealed the power of an ancient dragon. Its attack could split mountains and fill the seas. One strike was enough to make the world tremble. Sealed dragon sword. I haven't felt the aura of the sealed dragon sword for a long time. I miss it so much. The little golden dragon danced and hovered excitedly in the sky, taking deep breaths and inhaling the remaining dragon energy in the air into its mouth. However, Hushi held the sword in both hands and presented it to Nan Gongyu. "I shall give this to you. Consider it my dowry." Nan Gongyu looked at her blankly, his lips moving as if he wanted to say something. But in the end he said nothing and reached out to take the sealed dragon sword. "You said that she was lucky to know him. Actually, it was really the other way around. Getting to know Shiyu was the greatest fortune for Nan Gongyu." Little Golden Dragon pouted in displeasure, but he had already guessed that Hushi would give the sealed dragon sword to Nan Gongyu. Although he was unhappy, he didn't say anything. It's the sealed dragon sword. Even in the Siam continent, it's a rare magic weapon. Nan Gongyu is so lucky. Because of the dragon aura, the people sleeping in the sealed dragon domain woke up and rushed over here. Hushi smiled and said, "Your Highness King of Hell, it's getting late. Please go back quickly." She paused, her face slightly red, her voice gentle and soft. "Silly, in just a few more days, we can be together every moment. There's no need to be anxious since it's only a couple of days away." Before she could finish her words, Nan Gongyu suddenly reached out, hugged her, and kissed her deeply again. It wasn't until the worried voices of Gu Lufeng and others came from the control room did Nan Gongyu let go of her. His figure slowly blended into the darkness, becoming invisible, phasing through the array, and vanished. "Wait for me. And I love you." Hushi gently exhaled, her eyes filled with a faint touch of melancholy. She had just told Nan Gongyu not to be anxious, but as soon as they parted, she suddenly felt an unwillingness to let go of him and a sense of sorrow for parting. Even 5 days seem really long. In the magical beast forest, Xiaoli had been training very hard after Hushi left, but she had been feeling down. Holding her hand, Liu walked through the forest. She pointed out and introduced peculiar plants and animals, chattering away to make her happy. Wuxia, who had recovered, followed quietly behind the two of them. His downcast eyes hid the guilt within. Wuxia knew that Xiaoli left the lady and stayed in the magical beast forest because of him. That was because he could only heal his injuries in the magical beast forest. And for Shiyu, the master he swore loyalty to, Wuxia had thought of a plan. After avenging himself, he would faithfully stay by her side for 100 years. This would be to repay her for saving his life and taking care of Xiaoli. Chapter 16-18. Someone's here, however. Before Wuxia could repay that kindness, he owed Shiyu more favor. He couldn't even count how many times Shiyu had saved his life and wondered how he could ever repay her. However, even if he wanted to repay her then, with his limited strength, he would have only caused trouble for Shiyu. Wuxia's eyes flashed with persistence, just like another reason why Xiaoli chose to stay in the magical beast forest. He too must become stronger to repay Shiyu's kindness one day. Liu gently stroked the two ears that Xiaoli didn't bother to hide, softly saying, "Miss Li, please don't be unhappy anymore." The king sent a message saying he would return from the Siam continent in a few days. When he's back, he will take you to Jinling Kingdom to visit Miss Shiyu. Xiaoli was the only disciple of Beastkin King Ranyi. So to other Beastkin, Xiaoli was like the princess of their lineage. She would become the queen of this lineage in the future. That was why Liu addressed Xiaoli as Mississippi, really? Hearing this, Xiaoli's eyes lit up entirely. Is the king really willing to take me to see Miss? What? Xiaoli jumped up in surprise, her whole tiny face flushing red in anxiety. Why didn't you say this earlier? How could I not attend Mrs. Wedding? No, I have to go back and prepare right away. Oh right, I have to choose lots and lots of gifts for Miss and my future brother-in-law. Liu was amused by her reaction. In the past few days, Xiaoli had been looking solemn and focused on cultivation. She didn't look like a young girl at all. But at this time, she was flustered, but she finally looked more like a youth. She smiled and said, "Miss Xiaoli, don't worry. The king had told us that he would return to the magic beast forest in the early morning of September 9th. At that time, he will tear the fabric of space and take Miss Xiaoli to the wedding. There's no need to fret. Just focus on preparing your gifts in the next few days." Hearing this, Xiaoli finally relaxed. Her beautiful eyes gently curved, filled with joy and anticipation. "I can't wait to see Miss soon." Before she could finish her words, Wuqi's face suddenly changed, and he said in a deep voice, "Someone's here." The expressions of the three beastkin changed instantly as their smiles faded. Xiaoli led Liu and Wuqi to hide behind a bush. With a wave of his hand, a ray of silver light fell on them. Immediately after, the three of them seemed to have vanished, blending into the bush. This was an illusion technique that the nine-tailed silver fox could use after reaching a certain cultivation level. Even if the opponent's cultivation was 2 or 3 levels higher than Xiaoli's, they might not necessarily detect it. In the dense deep woods, several figures slowly emerged. Leading them was Lu Yunhai, the third elder of the Lu family. He glanced at an old man beside him, who had a respectful and fawning expression, and said impatiently, "Is this the place you spoke about?" The old man was the Feng family's patriarch, Venerable Mu Hua. Ever since he was injured by the Beastkin King Ranyi, his internal injuries had not healed. Although he had taken medicine, his cultivation had greatly decreased, now merely at the early stage of nascent soul. Chapter 16-19. Worry. He coughed lightly and said, "Further ahead is the Toad Jade Palace, where many beastkins dwell. I found traces of that thing near Toad Jade Palace back in the day. So if it ever appeared before, it must not be far from here." Cough, cough, cough. Just as Lu Yunhai was about to speak, suddenly, a few women in white dresses and veils gracefully walked over from not far away. Lu Wushuang pays her respects to third uncle. The woman in white clothes bowed gracefully to Lu Yunhai. Her voice sweet like a melodious oriole coming out of a valley. Lu Yunhai snorted coldly, frowned and said, "You're still wearing white clothes when we enter the forest. Are you looking for trouble?" Lu Yunhai's eyebrows raised in anger. "Look at what you have done. The Beastkin King here is a divine beast that has advanced to rank 12. If you anger it and make things worse, How are you going to explain to your father? Don't worry, third uncle. Lu Wuxuang gently stroked her clothes, which glistened like mercury even in the dim light of the forest, and chuckled. Wuxuang has already learned that Beastkin King Ran Yi is in Siam continent to consolidate his cultivation. In the magical beast forest, the strongest being here is nothing more than a rank 9 monster. They are just a bunch of useless beasts. Why should we be scared? With my humble abilities, I have already set up a crimson voodoo array around the magical beast forest. If the beastkins make no move, we will naturally leave each other be. But if they want to ruin our plans or rush out of the magic beast forest, haha, I guarantee they will die miserably. Upon hearing this, the anger on Lu Yunhai's face finally subsided, and the look he gave Lu Wuxuang softened considerably. His niece was exceptionally talented and intelligent, definitely at the top of the Lu family. It was just that her temperament had been too domineering and stubborn, especially emotionally. She would not back down, even if she hit a wall. It had truly been a pity. Behind the bushes, Xiaoli and Liu looked at each other and saw the worry in each other's eyes. Each of these individuals had high cultivation levels, with Lu Yunhai being the strongest, causing an instinctual fear to rise in the hearts of the 3 beastkins. It took immense willpower for them to control their trembling and avoid being discovered. Lu Yunhai walked around the area, releasing his divine sense in a wide range. Suddenly his eyes focused. A hint of excitement flashed. There, I feel a strong life force. It should be there. Seeing the direction Lu Yunhai and others were heading, Liu suddenly turned deathly pale, unable to control her trembling body. Fortunately, Lu Yunhai was in a hurry to find clues, so he didn't notice Liu. After they walked away, Liu said in a trembling voice, "That's where Miss Xiyu treated Nangong Yu's injuries. I know what they are looking for. Would source." Xiaoli gritted her teeth and said, her face turning pale. However, her eyes were firm. "You and Wuqi stay here. I'll follow them and take a look." "Miss Xiaoli, no." Xiaoli looked at the two, a flash of resolve in her eyes. Suddenly, she took out a few medicine bottles and handed them to Wuqi and Liu. "Later, I will pass on the information I hear to you through the insects. Both of you, head to the edge of the demon beast forest now." Chapter 1620. Footage. If I'm caught later, you must leave the magical beast forest and pass the news to Mississippi. "Miss Li, you can't do that." Liu was so anxious that she almost cried. "The king said that nothing can happen to you. How can we let you take such a risk?" Xiaoli shook her head resolutely, her voice heavy. "If something happens to Miss, what's the point of me staying here, desperately training to become stronger? Liu, brother, I'm begging you. You must pass the message to Mississippi. That woman mentioned the crimson voodoo array. I've heard Miss talk about it before. But when it comes to using poison, no one can compare to Mississippi. So take these medicines. If you're stopped, just scatter them. Liu, can you promise me?" Looking at the little girl's firm and calm eyes, Liu couldn't utter a word of refusal. The words stuck in her throat. Her eyes gradually turned red, but in the end she nodded. With a shimmer, she transformed into her original form, human bird. "Miss Xiaoli, you must be careful. You must stay alive." Tears suddenly welled up in Xiaoli's eyes as she choked out, "Brother, you also have to promise. You absolutely must not let anything happen." The 3 beastkins parted ways. Xiaoli hid her figure and followed them quietly. At her feet, countless black insects and ants lined up in a long line, following behind her. Yet in the forest, the movement of insects and ants was a common occurrence, and no one paid any attention to these tiny creatures. When she arrived at the hidden cave entrance, Xiaoli continued to hide behind a bush. At this moment, the people inside the cave were already full of surprise and excitement. Because in this cave, they had finally found it. The rich essence of wood source, so strong that there was no need to search specifically to feel it. Lu Yunhai looked at Feng Yunjiao, who nodded and sat down cross-legged on the ground. Something similar to a compass appeared in front of him, with a red pointer swaying gently. As Feng Yunjiao gestured in the air, a series of unique air flows began to swirl around him, and the red pointer shifted from a slight wobble to a violent swing. The expressions of everyone around him changed slightly. Even Lu Yunhai looked at Feng Yunjiao with eyes filled with wonder, because they felt that the flow of time was constantly changing, sometimes faster and sometimes slower, as if the fabric of time and space were controlled by this young man. Suddenly, Feng Yunjiao's hands, which were forming seals, thrust out abruptly. His tightly closed eyes flung open. Seeing this, everyone from the Lu family jumped in fright, because only the whites of Feng Yunjiao's eyes were visible, with no sight of the black pupils. Odd patterns shimmered on the whites of his eyes. The next moment, in the direction of Feng Yunjiao's finger, a hole seemed to be torn open in the air. Then footage unfolded before him. There was an exceptionally handsome young man, his hand placed on the back of the person before him, at the area of the dantian. The green light, symbolizing life, circulated like a vortex, emitting a strong aura of life. Shiyu, Feng family's patriarch and Lu Wushuang exclaimed when they saw the young man. Chapter 1621. Who's there? However, Feng Yunjiao finally couldn't hold on to the technique anymore, and spurted out a mouthful of blood. The compass needle stopped shaking. The footage before him disappeared without a trace. There was a moment of silence in the cave. After a long while, Lu Wushuang took a sharp breath. Her face, half covered by a white veil, twisted crazily, as if in excitement, and yet seemingly in deep resentment and jealousy. It turns out to be Shiyu, the lowly woman Nangongyu is going to marry. Shiyu. Ha ha ha. I originally wanted to spare her for the time being, but that's not going to happen. I'm going to take the wood source and her life. Feng family's patriarch's expression also changed, becoming increasingly fierce and grim. It turns out that the person who possesses the wood source is Shiyu. No wonder her cultivation has improved so quickly and her luck is so good. Legend has it that the person who has the wood source is destined to be blessed. Naturally, she will receive many more opportunities and blessings than ordinary people. Lu Yunhai was thrilled. He knew far more about the wood source than Lu Wushuang and the patriarch of the Feng family. He was aware of what kind of benefits awaited the Lu family if they seized the wood source. The Lu family would surely have a brilliant future ahead. Originally, the Feng family patriarch only brought a piece of uncertain news. However, the actual wood source was right before them. Moreover, it was within reach. The party was excited about their discovery. Just as he was about to speak, Lu Yunhai's expression suddenly changed. He shouted sharply towards the entrance of the cave. Who's there? Show yourself. Shaoli, who was hiding in the darkness, was startled and thought she had been discovered. Upon seeing the newcomer, Lu Yunhai's eyebrows immediately furrowed deeply, and his expression darkened as he said, Silver Fox, how come you are here? The person who appeared was Silver Fox, who wore a mask. Naturally, there was also Lu Xuyang, who had led the way. Hearing this, Silver Fox laughed and said, Elder Lu, you must be joking. Our Greenvine clan has always traveled between Siam and Miluo. Isn't it normal to appear here? Moreover, some time ago, someone harmed the Golden Wolf of the Greenvine clan. He was injured, and parts of his soul went missing. I am here, naturally following the orders of my superior, to investigate the matter of the Golden Wolf being harmed. As for Elder Lu, I remember that apart from Miss Lu, no one from the Lu family ever sets foot on the Miluo continent. I wonder, what brings Elder Lu to this desolate place all of a sudden? Lu Yunhai's expression changed uncertainly. As his gaze fixed firmly on Silver Fox, he said coldly, We the Lu family, and your Greenvine clan have always stayed out of each other's business. Today, we have important matters to attend to here. May I request Silver Fox to please make things easy and leave quickly? Lu Yunhai was unsure if Silver Fox witnessed Feng Yunjiao's technique of rewinding the fabric of time and space. It was also his miscalculation. He thought that this vast, boundless monster forest made it impossible for anyone to find this place. So he only guarded against beasts, not thinking to guard against people at all. In particular, Silver Fox's cultivation level had reached the void darkness stage like him. Current cultivation levels: Foundation Establishment Stage, Meridian Stage, Gold Core Stage, Nascent Soul Stage, Soul Splitting Stage, Void Darkness Stage. If he wasn't vigilant with his surroundings, he couldn't find any trace of Silver Fox at all. However, Silver Fox bursts into laughter. What an unfortunate coincidence. I have watched the footage where that boy had incarnated just now. It was Shiyu, right? By coincidence, our Green Vine clan is also here for Shiyu this time. Chapter 1622. Cooperate. Lu Yunhai's face instantly turned frightfully dark as he said ominously, Silver Fox, are you thinking of snatching that person away from our Lu family? However, Silver Fox's expression suddenly turned cold as well, as he scoffed. How can you say that? We have already found out that Shiyu is the one who hurt the Golden Wolf. Our Lord has issued an order to capture Shiyu and take her back to the upper realm for the Lord to deal with personally. Elder Lu, you don't need to make things complicated. Silver Fox waved his hand in midair. A weapon resembling a crescent moon appeared in his hand, emitting a bright white light in the cave. Haha, Elder Lu dares to disregard the reputation of my Green Vine clan. Let's see who will be the final winner in the end. A tremendous momentum suddenly surged in the cave, as the long sword and crescent blade met in the air, clashing together. Boom! A loud noise erupted. The entire cave, including half of the mountain, collapsed. The ground of the magical beast forest was shaking madly, whipping up flying sand and rocks, with violent winds howling. After the first clash, Lu Yunhai and Silver Fox were separated, standing far apart on either side. Both eyes held a deep wariness of each other. Staying far to the side, Lu Shuyang suddenly stepped forward, bowing to Silver Fox, saying, Sir Silver Fox, Elder Lu, since we share the same target, instead of fighting to the death and letting others benefit, why not sit down and discuss how we can cooperate? Otherwise, after you both fight, others may end up reaping the rewards. Silver Fox looked at him sideways and said coldly, What do you mean by this? A sly smile flashed in Lu Shuyang's eyes. Suddenly, his figure flickered, darting to the hidden little fox's side. He grabbed the little fox by the neck and held it aloft. It's a nine-tailed silver fox. Lu Yunhai and Silver Fox exclaimed simultaneously. The two masters in the Void Darkness stage failed to notice a fox hiding nearby. If the fox beast skin spread the word about the wood source, the consequences would be really unimaginable. Let me go, you bad person. Let me go. The little fox struggled desperately, but couldn't break free from Lu Shuyang's grasp. Instead, as soon as she struggled, she felt her beastkin power flow to Lu Shuyang, making her dare not move again. The pride in Lu Shuyang's eyes flashed. He could discover Shaoli because he had once completely devoured the life force of a beastkin, and was sensitive to a beastkin's presence. Silver Fox grabbed Shaoli. As his spiritual power came into contact with the little fox, his expression changed slightly. It's Ran Yi's aura. An immense protective aura of a cub. Who are you to beastkin, Ran Yi? Shaoli twisted her neck and said, Let me go. If you dare to hurt me, my master will never let you go. Silver Fox looked up at Lu Yunhai and said slowly, Elder Lu, what do you say? Lu Yunhai looked at Shaoli. His expression changed rapidly, and he didn't speak for a long time. Lu Wushuang had gracefully walked forward, winked at Silver Fox, and said to Lu Yunhai, Third uncle, why not cooperate with the Green Vine clan instead of having both sides suffer a loss? All matters of profit distribution could be discussed after we obtain the wood source. Chapter 1623. Chase. After all, the Green Vine clan was a robust clan. If both sides went to war, it would definitely attract the attention of others. It would become much more unpredictable who would end up with the wood source in their possession. Lu Yunhai slowly exhaled and said, Fine, for the wood source, my Lu family will cooperate with your Green Vine clan. The most important thing now was to get the wood source first. As for who got to keep the wood source, it would all depend on their own abilities in the competition. Third uncle, what should we do with this little fox? Lu Wushuang looked at Shaoli's delicate face and chuckled. Why don't you give it to me and put her at my disposal? Silver Fox narrowed his eyes and said, Miss Lu, it's best to not have this idea. The Winged Dragon clan is a vengeful beastkin. If Ranni finds out that you killed his precious disciple, the entire Siam continent's beastkin clan will hunt down the Lu family crazily. Randy alone was not scary. What was truly frightening was the clan of divine beasts behind him. If this little fox was just an ordinary beastkin, they could kill it. However, that option wasn't feasible now. Lu Yunhai did not object either. He tossed the little fox, who was bound by the golden silk, to a subordinate of the Lu family. Keep a close watch on it. Don't let it escape until the matter is settled. Since they had reached a temporary truce, both sides sat down in the cave to discuss their next steps. 3 days from now is the wedding of Nangongyu and Shiyu. We'll strike at that time. Silver Fox said solemnly. Lu Wushuang was puzzled and growing impatient. Since we've already confirmed Shiyu's identity, why not act immediately? The longer we let that wretched person enjoy herself, the more intense my jealousy burns. Silver Fox sneered. Didn't you know that immortal Yanjing is Shiyu's master and is still by her side? Lu Yunhai and others were all shocked. They wouldn't have a chance if immortal Yanjing were here. On the other hand, Silver Fox wore a smug smile. Don't worry, everyone. Our Lord has already taken care of this matter. In just a couple of days, Yanjing will return to the Siam continent and won't be able to come back for a while. Everyone in the Lu family was immediately overjoyed and began to discuss how to kidnap Shiyu quickly and covertly. Those people engaged in conversation failed to notice that at the bound feet of the little fox, numerous insects and ants were swiftly crawling toward the outside of the cave, as if they were racing against the clock. The well-thought-out plan was finally set. Lu Wushuang revealed a sinister and crazed smile. On their wedding day, Nangongyu and Shiyu will surely be very happy, very blissful, won't they? I wonder how their happiness and sweetness will be shattered in that moment, plunging them into the depths of hell, and into such misery and despair. Haha. I can't wait to see that day arrive. Suddenly, Lu Wushuang's laughter came to an abrupt halt. With anger in her eyes, she screamed, No, a beastkin has broken through my crimson voodoo array. Everyone's expressions were grim, and they all looked at Xiaoli. Xiaoli was filled with a fearless expression as she sneered. You wicked and shameless bunch, your plot will never succeed. Lu Shuyang frowned and said, I remembered that this little fox is Shiyu's spiritual pet. She must have sent the message to inform Shiyu and Nangongyu. Lu Yunhai's face darkened. He said in frustration, Chase them right away. We must kill those 2 beastkins, and we can't let them relay the message. Chapter 1624. Phoenix Crown and Iridescent Dress. As Lu Yunhai spoke, he looked at Xiaoli coldly. Even if I can't kill you, I can get rid of your beastkin friends. Ha ha ha. The Lu family has already enclosed the magical beast forest. Do you really think they can escape and relay the news? Keep dreaming. Members of the Lu family and Silver Fox all headed out. Some went to hunt down the beastkins, while others went to arrange the wood source hunting plan. Xiaoli lowered her head in the hands of the Lu family. At this time, there was no longer any indignation on her face, only worry and panic remained. Miss Brother Liu, you all have to be okay. Nothing bad can happen to you. On the 8th of September, the wedding of Hushi and Nangongyu was just around the corner. The King of Hell Mansion and the Sealed Dragon Domain were caught in the final moment's tension. Had the dowry been sorted out? Was the bridal chamber properly decorated? Would the wedding procession be safe? Everything made people on both sides nervous. Yet, amidst all this, only the bride-to-be, Hushi, remained cool as a cucumber. She continued her cultivation and potion-making unperturbed, as if it wasn't her who was tying the knot tomorrow, but someone else. To be more precise, it was the main party involved being unperturbed. Firstly, it was immortal Yanjing, who was lying next to Hushi, drinking wine and eating delicious food. The other person was Gu Liufeng's mother, Gu Yulan. She had seemingly behaved like a child, roaming the place and playing by herself all day long. For some reason these past few days, she had taken to sitting next to Hushi and weaving strange patterns with red rope. When Mai Xiang and Qing Wan came in, they smelled the alcohol in the room, which had even permeated the phoenix crown and iridescent dress beside Hushi. They were shocked and said, Old man Yu, how could you do this? If you want to drink, go outside and drink. How can you let the lady's boudoir and wedding dress be tainted with the smell of alcohol? Immortal Xianqing burped and chuckled. What's wrong with the smell of wine? The wine smells delicious. I even feel like I'm having a loss when the smell of alcohol is picked up by my disciple's wedding dress. My disciple, am I right? Hushi glanced at Immortal Yanjing with a smile and said nothing. She held a pen in her hand and wrote something quickly on the paper. Qing Wan leaned over and took a peek. She realized that it was various calculations for the ingredient ratios of various medicinal pills. She immediately complained. Miss, what on earth are you doing studying pill refining at a time like this? Have you tried it on? This fabric was woven for you from thousands of silken threads from heavenly silkworms, provided by the King of Hell. It was painstakingly sewn together, stitch by stitch, by my Xiang and Mudong. They worked their fingers to the bone, day and night. Hushi smiled and said, Okay, I don't need to look at this wedding dress. I can already tell at just one glance that it fits perfectly. This is made by my Xiang and Mudong. How can it not be suitable? My Xiang blushed and playfully urged Hushi. Miss, just give it a try, okay? If there's anything off, there's still time to make adjustments now. Hushi, deciding to indulge their wishes, stood up and gently waved her hand toward the phoenix crown and iridescent dress. In the blink of an eye, the fiery red wedding dress was neatly adorned on her, complementing her snow-like, jade-like skin, shimmering brilliantly under the crystal light. My Xiang and Qing Wan drew a deep breath. After a while my Xiang murmured, His Royal Highness King of Hell is so lucky. Qing Wan felt that although these words were demeaning to her master, she couldn't agree more. Chapter 1625. Leaving Immortal Yanjing shook his head with regret. That's what I said. That young rascal got lucky. My precious disciple is both smart and beautiful. And now she ends up as that old guy's granddaughter-in-law. What a loss. Hushi was amused by their reaction. Seriously, why the over-the-top act? Just as Hushi was about to take off the wedding dress, Gu Yulan, who had been sitting quietly nearby, making knots in a rope, suddenly stood up. Staring at Hushi, she murmured, Miss. As she said that, she rushed toward Hushi, knelt in front of her, and started sobbing. Hushi was taken aback. Just as she was about to check if Gu Yulan had a relapse of her old ailment, Gu Yulan extended her hand, passing the finished knotted rope to Hushi. Miss, you need to live well. You're a good person. You'll surely find happiness. With that said, she stood up and ran out of the room with a cheerful smile like a child. Hushi and the others were confused by this turn of events. Why did Gu Yulan suddenly call her Miss? Did something startle her? Hushi examined the knotted rope, turning it over in her hands. She tilted it to a certain angle and paused slightly, thinking, why does this knot look familiar? While she was trying to remember where she had seen such a knot before, Immortal Yanjing suddenly sprang up from the ground beside her. Hushi looked over in surprise, only to see Immortal Yanjing open his palm. On his rough hand, the blood-red characters appeared. Help! Immortal Yanjing's expression immediately turned extremely solemn, with a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. He remained silent for a long while. Hushi walked over and said, Master, did something happen? If you have something urgent to deal with, you can leave first. A look of hesitation surfaced on Immortal Yanjing's face. However, I have this uneasy feeling about your situation. I'm concerned that the Greenvine clan and Nangong family might still target you. I initially planned to leave after your wedding, but now... It's fine, Master. Hushi held Immortal Yanjing's rough hand and said softly, Master, I can protect myself, and Nangong, you will look out for me. If you have important matters to attend to, you should go. If you miss this chance, I fear you'll regret it in the future. Hushi smiled and said, Master, you are so long-winded. Don't worry, I will prepare more varieties of fine wine for you to drink when you come back. Ha, that's right. Immortal Yanjing laughed while stroking his beard. Since I missed out on this celebratory drink, I'll make up for it tenfold, or even 100-fold in the future. My dear disciple, wait for me. I'll be back before you know it. After saying that, Immortal Yanjing did not stay any longer and vanished from the sealed dragon domain in a flash. Immortal Yanjing had always believed people coveted Qiyu for her with spiritual root. However, he didn't realize that Hushy's talents weren't limited to just the wood spirit root. It was, in fact, the wood source, something every martial artist would go crazy for. She never got the chance to explain the matter clearly. Meanwhile, immortal Yanjing had always taken the wood spiritual root seriously. Had immortal Yanjing known the truth, he wouldn't have left his disciple so readily. The 9th of September had finally arrived. The entire Yanjing city seemed to be painted in a bright and fiery red. The sounds of drums, laughter, and chatter filled every street and alley. The entire city was buzzing with excitement. Chapter 1626. 100 Miles Procession. As the early evening settled, the sealed dragon domain on Song Mountain let out a loud roar, and rays of iridescent light bloomed. That was the Wukong Gate. When it first opened years ago in the sealed dragon domain's secret territory, it drove the martial artists of the entire Miluo continent wild with excitement. On this day, the gate opened once again. The faint golden gate slowly opened under the dazzling sunlight, and a line of figures gradually emerged from within. Boom, crackle, rumble. Countless fireworks were set off during the day, yet they painted the azure sky with a riot of colors. In the Wukong Gate, there came the roar of wild beasts, the crisp chirping of birds, and the whooshing sound of the wind. On this day, every creature within the secret domain was there to honor and send off their master on her wedding day. In the sealed dragon domain, from the moment the first person in the wedding procession stepped out of the Wukong Gate to the time the last one gestured for the gate to close, it took a full hour. From the base of Tsong Mountain to the King of Hell Mansion, the road was adorned with bright red silk sprinkled with gold powder, shimmering in the sunlight. The onlookers crowded at the entrance of Yanjing City couldn't help but exclaim, This isn't just a grand procession spanning 10 miles. It's more like 100 miles. The leaders of the wedding procession had already entered Yanjing City, but those at the end hadn't even stepped out of the Tsong Mountain's boundary yet. And those openly displayed boxes of magical treasures and elixirs filled the air with a rich aroma of spiritual energy. The bride and groom were practically flaunting just how wealthy they truly were. Hushy lounged comfortably in the spacious palanquin, stretching lazily. Tien. Reference link for the carriage. She was still wearing her wedding dress, but she had set the phoenix crown beside her, finding it simply too heavy. While most brides in their palanquins were anxious and nervous, not daring to move, Hushy was probably the only one this relaxed and carefree. Just as she was about to use her divine sense to gauge the time left until arrival, a small, inconspicuous black insect crawled into the palanquin. The top figures from the 3 major families are almost all here. I also spotted that guy from the Qixing Palace you met on Breaking Spirit Mountain. I think his name is Xiaichen. His face was a picture of incredulity. He kept muttering, Is she really a woman? How is that possible? Can a woman be that formidable? It was hilarious, ha ha ha. Hushy glanced at Little Golden Dragon. Little Golden Dragon immediately reined in its gleeful, gossipy expression. Swinging its dragon horns, it said, I know, master. You sent me there to check if Xiaoqi would get frightened at the feast or if someone would bully him, right? Don't worry. Unless Nangong Yu doesn't want to marry you anymore, who would dare upset their future brother-in-law? P. Ouyang Haoshuan and Gu Lufeng are with him. Baihu and the others have been finding him the most delicious spiritual delicacies. The boy understands that his sister is getting married and it is a big day, so he sits upright and is quite well behaved. A smile appeared on Hushy's face. Little Golden Dragon flew up to her and showed a sly smile. Master, aren't you curious about Nangong Yu's current expression? I purposefully climbed up close to get a better look, but he noticed me. Then he told me to let you know not to be impatient because soon, it'll be your night. Chapter 1627. Completed ceremony. Hushy's face turned red, and she said with a hint of annoyance, Get back into the void now. The little golden dragon did a roll and disappeared within the palanquin. Just before leaving, it didn't forget to say laughingly, Don't worry, master. Little Egg and I will stay in the void obediently. We're looking forward to your wedding night. The bride has arrived. As the MC shouted, The firecrackers at the door of the King of Hell mansion rang out like thunder. Hushi was helped out of the palanquin. Though she wore the phoenix crown with a beaded veil, her stunning beauty still shone through. Upon seeing the bride, everyone collectively gasped, so astonished that they momentarily forgot to breathe. Nangongyu held his breath as he approached Hushi. He then gently crouched down and carefully lifted the only woman he had ever loved onto his back, step by step, heading towards the main hall. Though it was just a few hundred steps from the entrance to the main hall, a distance Nangongyu could cover in a flash, he now walked slowly and steadily. It was as if he was carrying the most precious treasure and the greatest responsibility of his life. Bow to the ancestors and elders. From this moment on he, Nangongyu, would no longer be alone, and would always have someone by his side. Bow to the heaven and earth. From now on, they would support and rely on each other, standing side by side through thick and thin, inseparable in life and death. Bow to each other as husband and wife. From this day forward, Nangongyu would have a beloved wife, Shiyu, to cherish for all eternity. The ceremony is completed. Send them in for the consummate night. The onlooking guests erupted in thunderous cheers. Seeing this married couple, who looked as if they were heaven-sent, standing together, everyone felt that there couldn't be a more perfect match than these two. Only Nangongyu was worthy of Shiyu. And only Shiyu was worthy of Nangongyu. In the hall, old lady Nangong wore a benevolent smile, looking at the couple with great satisfaction and nodding approvingly. By the time the couple was escorted inside, the smile on her face became even warmer and more joyous, without a hint of imperfection. Nangongyu and Hushi's bridal chamber was set up in what was originally Nangongyu's master bedroom. By now, the entire bedroom had transformed into a cozy and elegant space. Red crystals were placed around the room, casting a particularly festive vibe throughout. Due to Nangongyu's commanding presence, those who had initially wanted to barge in and playfully disturb the couple were promptly shooed away. With the bridal chamber finally settling into a rare silence, Nangongyu gently lifted the beaded veil from Hushi's face. Gazing at her flawless beauty, his voice turned husky and deep. "Shir, I finally brought you home as my bride. From now on, you are truly mine. You're my only wife." Hushi narrowed her eyes and smiled. "You're mine too, my only husband." Unable to resist any longer, Nangongyu leaned down and gently captured her petal-soft lips, kissing her tenderly. He even tasted the lipstick on Hushi's lips as he deepened the kiss. "Nangongyu, how can the groom move on to the consummate so early? If you don't have a drink with us, we won't let you spend time with the bride." "Haha, that's right. The groom, come out quickly." Outside the door, boisterous voices could be heard. Most of them were from the elders of the Miracle Healer Academy. Shin-sun also chimed in. Frustrated, Nangongyu released Hushi and gazed at her intensely, murmuring, "Hushi, let's ignore them and sneak into another room to continue our wedding night, okay? I'm struggling to hold back." He reached out and pulled her into his arms. The heat exuding from his body portrayed how much he longed to possess the beloved girl in front of him, and he didn't want to wait even for a moment. Chapter 1628. Everything's fine. Hushi's face was flushed. She smiled and pushed him away. "Nangongyu, you'd better get out quickly. Otherwise, they will probably rush into the room." Sure enough, Zheng Shouyue's angry voice sounded outside the door again. "Do you think you can just easily marry away our Miracle Healer Academy's girl? Nangongyu, you'd better come out quickly. I will make you drunk today." Nangongyu had a look of reluctance and anger, with a hint of childish grievance. Hushi pursed her lips, leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Go quickly. I'll wait for you to come back and tie the knot." Nangongyu's heart fluttered, the fiery passion within him intensifying. Taking a few deep breaths, he smiled and gently tapped Hushi's forehead, saying, "You naughty girl." Then he turned around and left the bridal chamber. Just after midnight, the old lady Nangong, still dressed in her extravagant attire, slowly made her way toward the bridal chamber. She was accompanied by two ordinary-looking mammies. Guarding the entrance to the bridal chamber were Qing Wan and Wu Nian, as well as the two guards Hushi brought from Sealed Dragon Domain, Shi Jia and Shi Yi. Seeing old lady Nangong, Wu Nian and Qing Wan both showed respectful expressions. Greetings, old lady Nangong. Seeing her walking to the bridal chamber, Qing Wan couldn't help but ask curiously, Old lady Nangong, what can I do for you? Qing Wan was a little surprised but had no doubts. Old lady Nangong had always been kind to the master. Even when she thought that the miss was a man, she never opposed the marriage. There was no reason for Qing Wan to doubt the old lady. However, Shi Jiao was baffled. Why did the heirloom have to be given to the young miss on the wedding night? Couldn't it be given during the tea ceremony the next day? Just as he was about to speak, he heard old lady Nangong continue. In our Nangong family, when a newcomer enters, they have to pay respects to our ancestors the next day. If Yu's bride doesn't wear this jewelry during the ceremony, I'm afraid the others might have some thoughts or reservations. Old lady Nangong said so. Although Shi Jiao was suspicious, she didn't say anything. The door of the bridal chamber was slowly opened. After the three people entered, it slowly closed again. Shi Jiao frowned and glanced in the direction of the bridal chamber from time to time. After 15 minutes, old lady Nangong walked out of the bridal chamber with a relieved smile on her face. Following behind her were the same two inconspicuous mammies. After instructing the two to take good care of Nangong Yu and Shi Yu, old lady Nangong gracefully took her leave. I'm fine. What happened? Peering through the crack, under the soft glow of the firelight, sat a woman dressed in bridal attire. The phoenix crown was still on her head, and the beaded veil hung down, concealing her face. However, one could vaguely see the stunning beauty beneath it. Seeing Shi Yu sitting there unharmed, Shi Jiao breathed a sigh of relief, chiding himself for being overly suspicious. If the people of the King of Hell Mansion trusted old lady Nangong, then it naturally meant she was trustworthy. Chapter 1629. Who are you? At the wedding banquet, the party was in full swing, with lively chatter and laughter filling the entire King of Hell Mansion. Butler Nan followed Nangong Yu, looking at the densely packed banquet with no end in sight. He then looked at Nangong Yu, who was still graceful and handsome even though he was drunk. He felt happy in his heart. He had watched his young master grow up, witnessed him lose his family and happiness, thinking he'd spend his life in solitude. But who would have thought? He found the love of his life and would be getting married. Perhaps in some time, a little heir would be born, and the King of Hell Mansion would become even livelier. Just thinking about such a future, Butler Nan's eyes crinkled with laughter. I wish this happy and warm scene could last forever. Gu Lufeng raised his glass, handing it to Nangong Yu. His face was smiling, but his eyes held an unspeakable gravity. Nangong Yu, I'm entrusting Shi Yu to you. If you dare harm her in any way, I won't hesitate to use all I have to make you pay. Nangong Yu smiled, said nothing, and drank all the wine in the glass. Nonsense, as Nangong Yu's wife, I'm going to pamper her. How would I treat her badly? He shook the empty wine glass and looked at Ouyang Haoshuan standing next to Gu Lufeng. In the dead of night, the man's spiritual energy fluctuated like a blazing flame. Nangong Yu could feel it even without using his spiritual vision. However, despite the burning fire, his eyes were cold and dark, as if there was no warmth at all. Ouyang Haoshuan did not come to toast like Gu Lufeng, nor did he have the slightest intention to entrust Shi Yu and ask Nangong Yu to treat Shi Yu well. Gu Lufeng bumped into him and asked him to toast. Ouyang Haoshuan smirked, filling his cup with wine and downing it in one gulp. He then remarked casually, wherever Shi Yu is, I'll be there. Can the King of Hell Mansion accommodate someone like me? He lived the remainder of his life solely for Shi Yu. As for whom Shi Yu loved or married, he truly didn't care as long as it was the life Shi Yu desired. Nangong Yu's eyes sharpened. He was about to speak when suddenly, a strong wave of irritation and unease surged within him. His complexion paled slightly. A foreboding feeling spread in his heart, as if something bad was happening. Nangong Yu put down his wine glass, turned around, and walked toward the bridal chamber. Many people came up to offer toasts along the way. He really wanted to swat them away in annoyance, but this was his wedding banquet, his special day with Shi Yu, so he could only patiently avoid them. When he arrived at the bridal chamber, it was still quiet, no different from when he left. Where's Shi Yu? Qing Wuan covered her mouth and giggled. Master, what are you talking about? The young lady is a newlywed, so she is naturally waiting in the bridal chamber. Do you still need to ask? Nangongyu breathed a sigh of relief, and slowly let go of his worries. Yet, an inexplicable irritation persisted, prompting him to push open the door to the bridal chamber and softly call out, Sheer. As soon as he spoke, the person sitting at the head of the bed turned to look at him. The bright red wedding gown, the dazzling phoenix crown, and the familiar face of stunning beauty beneath that crown. Yet the moment he saw that face, Nangongyu's expression changed drastically. In a flash, he was in front of the person, violently grabbing their throat. His voice was chillingly cold, reminiscent of a hellish Azura. Who are you? Why are you here? Where is Shiyu? Chapter 1630. Fainted mother, mother, wake up! Wake up! In a deep sleep, Hushi heard little eggs call in her ears. When she opened her eyes, she felt that her head weighed 1,000 pounds. Sob. Mom, what should I do? Little golden dragon and little cow have both fainted. That fat bird has also passed out. Mom can't wake up either. Little egg is so scared. Hushi furrowed her brows. She tried to sit up. However, she felt as if an invisible force had bound her entire body, leaving her completely immobilized. She looked around and found that she seemed to be in an old mansion. The surroundings were still filled with the smell of dust and rotten wood. What happened? Hushi's memories slowly drifted back to not long ago. When Hushi heard old lady Nangong's voice in her bridal chamber, she immediately became wary. Hushi even had the invisible needle in her hand, ready to strike. However, since Nangongyu cared about his grandmother, she kept her wariness hidden. She just sat on the bed and looked at the old lady who walked in calmly. However, what Hushi hadn't expected caught her off guard. As soon as Lady Nangong entered the bridal chamber, she closed the door behind her. Without even a greeting, the mammy behind her immediately raised her hand. A mysterious smoke, seeming almost alive, shot straight toward Hushi on the bed. Even with Hushi's expertise in poisons, she felt dizzy when she caught a whiff of that mysterious smoke. Her body suddenly became weak and limp. She collapsed onto the bed. The horror Hushi felt could not be described in words. Hushi tried to mobilize her internal spiritual force, forcing the small amount of inhaled sedative into a corner of her meridians. Her mind immediately cleared. However, she still pretended to be unconscious, keeping her eyes shut and feigning collapse on the bed. Old Lady Nangong's voice came to her ears. I heard that Shiyu is proficient in poison. I didn't expect that this smoke would be so powerful that even Shiyu couldn't resist it. A woman's deep laughter echoed in the room, filled with mockery. Expert in poisons? Only the trash from Milua would praise such a young girl so highly. What does this kind of skill amount to in the face of my Lu family's soul-devouring poison? Listening to this woman's voice, it was obvious that she was not an old nanny, but a young woman. With a complicated expression, old lady Nangong looked at Hushi and whispered, Don't blame me. If you must blame someone, it's because you got in their way. Jingxue, do your part. Hushi felt a slight shiver in her heart. With her eyes slightly closed, she saw that the other old woman standing next to old lady Nangong slowly turned into Yanjing. Yanjing looked very excited. Her gaze landed on Hushi. With the compliment of the wedding dress, Hushi's stunning face appeared even more alluring, delicate and captivating. The more Yanjing gazed at Hushi, the more her heart burned with jealousy and hatred. She wanted to rush over and scratch Hushi's face, which was many times more beautiful than hers. However, Yanjing couldn't help her growing excitement, thinking that everything Shiyu possessed would soon be hers. The handsome and outstanding Nangongyu would become her husband. She would get everything from Shiyu and replace Shiyu. She quickly exchanged her clothes for Shiyu's, donned the phoenix crown, and sat on the bed. Chapter 1631. Swap the nanny beside old lady Nangong waved her hand, and sent a red orb toward Yanjing. The orb covered Yanjing face. It suddenly twisted on Yanjing face like jelly, and emitted a dark red light. When the light dissipated, Yanjing Xue's face turned completely into that of Hushi, so beautiful that there was almost no flaw in it. The woman dressed as an old mammy breathed a sigh of relief. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and said with satisfaction, "This disguise can last for 8 hours. Even if the martial artists of the void darkness were to come, they wouldn't find any flaws. Hee, 8 hours is more than enough time for you and Nangongyu to enjoy your wedding night." Upon hearing that, Hushi's heart skipped a beat, and her breathing became a little heavier. The bad news alarmed her. She swiftly leaped into the air, launching a poisoned silver needle from her hand towards the woman. Tch, a sharp pain came from her face, causing the woman disguised as an old mammy to groan in pain. Feeling a numbing pain on her face, the woman's eyes flashed with fury. Suddenly, with a flick of her hand, a large dark red insect fell to the ground from her grasp. The dark red insect exuded a terrifying and sinister aura. It blew a puff of smoke at Hushi, who was about to escape the room. Hushi suddenly felt dizzy and lost consciousness. Even the fellows in the void were affected by the smoke, fainting one after another. Only Little Egg, despite feeling sore all over, remained conscious. "Crimson Voodoo King!" Old Lady Nangong exclaimed, taking a step back with fear in her eyes. With a triumphant look, the woman glared at the unconscious Hushi. She scoffed, "She's such a cunning one. She almost fooled even me. Even our Lu family's soul-devouring poison couldn't affect her. Fortunately, the third elder was cautious and entrusted me with the Crimson Voodoo King." After speaking, the woman waved her hand. Hushi, who had been unconscious, slowly stood up as if controlled like a puppet. Her appearance also changed to that of the old mammy that Yanjing Xue had previously disguised into. Just like when they entered, the three left flawlessly. All that remained was the beautifully decorated bridal chamber, and the stunning bride. Yet no one knew that inside, everything had been switched out. After listening to Little Egg's story, Hushi's face became solemn. Hushi witnessed Yanjing Xue's appearance when she used the disguise voodoo. It was entirely different from using spiritual power to change one's appearance, which even Hushi could hardly spot any flaws. Can Nangongyu see through it? Will he really consummate the marriage with Yanjing Xue? The mere thought of Nangongyu getting close to another woman filled Hushi's eyes with intense irritation. The Lu family is at Lu Wushuang. However, based on Ouyang Haoshuan's description of Lu Wushuang's cultivation, I don't believe the Thousand Poison Valley's master would have such formidable tricks. Otherwise, my fate would be far worse when Feng Lianying cast voodoo on me in Breaking Spirit Mountain. "Little Egg, where am I now?" Hushi asked Little Egg using divine sense. Little Egg wiped away its tears and cried, "Mom, they're still in Yanjing City. Because of your grand wedding with Dad tonight, the entire city forbids flying and using teleportation arrays. Also, at this hour, the city gates are closed, so it seems they could only come here." Chapter 1632. Come in. Little Egg was talking when suddenly, a burst of chaotic footsteps approached. Hushi soon heard the voice of the woman who knocked her out. "Is the teleportation array ready yet? We must send her out immediately. It will take another hour before the teleportation array can be used. The Nangong family guy has set up some tricks in the barrier in Yanjing City. All the teleportation arrays cannot be activated for the time being. Now we have to change the runes to activate this one, but it can only send us just outside the Yanjing City." A man's voice reported, and then chuckled. "Don't worry, Mrs. Qianyu. The King of Hell is currently preoccupied with playing the groom and receiving toasts. Moreover, even after the toasts are done, seeing a stunning beauty who looks exactly like his wife, do you really think he'd resist approaching her? As long as Nangongyu sleeps with Yanjing Xue, he'll be controlled by the voodoo. Then won't he be at the mercy of our Lu family? Do you think he'd still pursue this young girl?" It turned out that the woman who kidnapped Hushi was named Qianyu. When Hushi heard them entering the house, Hushi immediately closed her eyes and pretended to have passed out again. In reality, even if she didn't pretend to be unconscious, she couldn't do anything. To this moment, it felt like her entire body was bound, unable to even move her fingers, let alone escape. Qianyu frowned and said, "It's always better to be safe than sorry. No matter what, we need to leave Yanjing as soon as possible." Once we can fly and teleport. Hee. Even if someone notices anything, they won't be able to catch up with us, even if they had wings. Yes, Mrs. Qianyu. The group walked into the room where Hushi was being held. The men who were following Qianyu saw the unconscious girl on the ground. Even though she was dressed in the most ordinary attire, in the dim light, she looked as breathtaking as a fairy from the heavens. Just a glance would make one's breath catch, and it was hard not to drool. Qianyu touched her face, noticing that the scratch hadn't healed yet. She glanced at the still unconscious Hushi, and then at her subordinates beside her, their eyes filled with greed. A mocking and sinister smirk crossed her eyes. You all stay here and watch her closely. I'll go check on the teleportation array. I'll be back in an hour. All you need to do is hand her over to me unharmed. As for what you want to do within this hour, I won't interfere. Qianyu's words made the eyes of these men light up with intense excitement. After the woman walked out of the room and locked the door behind her, the men walked toward Hushi. Everyone's eyes were wide open. Their fervent, fiery gazes seemed as though they'd melt the young girl's clothes, revealing her delicate, snow-white skin. From the void, Little Egg cried out anxiously, Mom, what are we going to do? Sob. These bad guys want to harm you. Mom, please take refuge in the void quickly, okay? Hushi was also filled with anxiety. She had tried everything. Her internal spiritual force, spiritual power, or the continuously generated essence from the circle of life, but none could free her. As the men with ill intentions drew closer, a stubby hand reached for Hushi's clothes. Little Egg in the void let out a piercing cry. It was so sharp that the entire void shook. Mom, come in quickly. Hushi felt a brief disorientation before a wave of spiritual power surged toward her, and the scent of vegetation filled her senses. She opened her eyes in surprise, looked around, and was immediately startled. Chapter 1633. A Discerning Eye. I'm in the void. I've actually entered the void? Peering out through her divine sense, Hushi could clearly see everything within 100 meters. Her physical body was nowhere to be found. Only a few men who were previously consumed with lust stood there, their expressions filled with shock and panic as they frantically searched around. Little Egg cried and threw itself into Hushi's arms, sobbing, Mom, you scared me to death. Hushi opened her mouth to speak, but her body was still restrained. All that came out in her raspy, broken voice was, What happened? Little Egg wiped away tears with a confused look on its face. It didn't know how Hushi entered the void. At that moment, all it desperately thought was, Mom has to come in. She must get out of danger and enter this void. And then Hushi appeared before its eyes. It wasn't like before, where Hushi was just a consciousness, actually a mirror image of her physical body that could eat, drink, and practice. Any harm to either body would be felt by both. This time, her entire body had entered the void fully. Little Egg was happy for a while, but then it realized that Hushi still couldn't move. It tried various methods, giving Hushi medicine and channeling spiritual power into her. However, its efforts were to no avail. Chirp chirp, the feeble cry of Little Red Bird suddenly came from the quiet void. Little Egg raised its head in surprise. Little Red Bird, are you awake? Are you okay? Chirp chirp chirp, silly. Fetch the Heavenly God pill and quickly give it to your clueless master to take. Heavenly God pill? What is that? Where is it? Little Red Bird rolled its eyes, dragged its tired body, flapped its wings, and flew into the Xianshao Palace. After a while, it took out a black medicinal pill from inside. Tweet tweet tweet, you're a bunch of idiots wasting such a treasure. There are only 2 such precious Heavenly God pills left in the world, but you are throwing them away like rubbish and piling them up with other junk. Humph, if it weren't for my discerning eye, the Heavenly God pill would have been wasted. Little Red Bird had originally planned to secretly share the pill with Xiaoqi one day, so they would both become immune to all poisons. However, since their current cultivation levels were too low to handle the potency of the Heavenly God pill, they had been holding off. The Heavenly God pill was a legendary treasure made from 99 types of unique and precious ingredients. It was refined for 9,981 days under the solar divine fire, after which, The essence of a 1,000-year-old malevolent spirit was infused into it. Anyone who consumed this pill would no longer have feared curses or poisons. Countless people had gone mad desiring this very item. Who would have thought that Miss would get so lucky today? Tisk, it's not like I care about her well-being. It's just that I don't want Xiaoqi to be heartbroken. Yes. I'm just worried about Xiaoqi's feelings. Little Egg blinked its eyes when it saw the medicinal pills, and finally remembered. Ah, aren't these the 2 medicinal pills we obtained when the first level of Ling Xiao Palace just opened? I didn't expect these 2 medicinal pills to be such powerful treasures. Sure enough, after Hushi swallowed the pill, the feeling of being constrained immediately disappeared without a trace. Her spiritual power and internal spiritual force also returned. She even felt a cold energy being released from the pores of her skin, drifting into her ancient rhyme spiritual field, and then completely absorbed by the cold-eating flower. Chapter 1634. Bloodbath in Yanjing. Of course, they understood how crucial the captive was. If they lost her on their watch, it would cost them their lives. However, even though they practically turned the place upside down, they couldn't find a trace of her. What's going on? Where is she? Qianyu never expected that just an hour later, when she came to see Hushi's miserable state, she would find several men darting around the backyard like headless chickens. The night was cool, but they were so frantic that they were drenched in cold sweat. Shiyu, who was originally unconscious on the ground, had long since disappeared. We really don't know. Before we could do anything, she suddenly disappeared. It's really not our fault. Please forgive us. Worthless. Qianyu furiously slapped them, sending several men tumbling to the ground, coughing up blood. With her chest heaving with anger, Qianyu coldly ordered, "Seal off this courtyard. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, find that person for me." Yes, Mrs. Qianyu. After Qianyu finished speaking, she did not stay in the courtyard, but left in a hurry with her eyes twinkling. Arriving in a remote room, Qianyu fiddled with a bracelet in her hand. The bracelet quickly lit up and a projection appeared before her. Watching the figure appear on the screen, Qianyu said with guilt and anxiety, "Third Elder, I've greatly erred. We captured Hushi, but even though she was clearly restrained by the Crimson Voodoo King's threads, she suddenly vanished without a trace." In the projection, Lu Yunhai's face suddenly darkened. He gritted his teeth and said harshly, "Incompetent. You can't even handle such a simple task." Lu Wushuang, who was standing behind him, stood up suddenly and said anxiously, "Third uncle, what should we do now? Immortal Xianqing must have given her some kind of treasure. If she contacts Xianqing again, we will be in trouble." Lu Yunhai's eyes seemed to hold a storm of fury, yet his expression slowly cooled. Turning to Qianyu in the projection, he said, "Notify Silver Fox and the Lu family members in Jinling City to initiate Plan B." Qianyu's expression changed slightly, with a hint of excitement and panic on her face. She bowed and said, "Yes." Lu Wushuang also became excited. "Third uncle, are you sure that bitch is still in Yanjing City?" Lu Yunhai sneered. "We and the Greenvine clan have jointly set up a barrier around Yanjing City. Even if she escapes, there is absolutely no way she can escape from Song Mountain. She is alone now. What else can she do besides running to Nangongyu for help or escaping back to the Sealed Dragon domain? The wood source is all the hope of our Lu family. We must get it no matter what. Anyone who dares to stand in our way will die. No matter if it's the people in Yanjing City or she used men in the Sealed Dragon domain." Lu Wushuang laughed excitedly. That wretched Hushi. If she had stayed put, we might have spared the people of Yanjing City or her subordinates in the Sealed Dragon domain. But she just had to cause us trouble, even thinking of escaping after being captured. Then don't blame us for a bloodbath in Yanjing. After all, our Lu family's discovery of the wood source must not be leaked. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference. as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.